Oftentimes Rachel and I will talk to people from, say, the United States or England, Western Europe, and they find out that we live much of our time in Africa, and they say, "Oh my, is it safe?" Or, "Oh, that must be dangerous there." And I have to chuckle a little bit because obviously what they know is only from what they hear about in the media. But it does make me think that when you serve Christ and you're a follower of God, He doesn't call His people to a life of ease and comfort. He doesn't call us to lives that aren't full of challenge and sometimes uncertainty. And certainly when I think about great men and women of God in the Bible and throughout Christian history, so many of them lived lives that were consistently full of challenge, uncertainty, suffering, and discomfort. And yet, in our humanity, we so often flee from all of those things to find safe haven, settledness, peace, comfort. That's normal. I think of the interesting story of Hosea in the Bible, and in chapter 1, if you can imagine, God calls His servant to marry an incredible woman, but of all things, she's a prostitute. The Bible says an adulterous woman. Can you imagine God calling His own child to a life of suffering and brokenness and heartache by marrying a woman who's a prostitute? I can't even get my head around it, frankly. But then, to make matters worse, when they have their first child, God says, "I want you to call her or name her Lo Ruhamah." Lo Ruhamah. What is that? Well, that means not loved. I can't imagine going to Rachel and saying with our little girl, "Oh, honey, by the way, God's told me to name her Lo Ruhamah," which means not loved. I can tell you right now, in my house, I wouldn't have won that battle for the name. Not loved? And yet, God gave specific instructions. So here's a man called to a life of heartache and suffering by God, starts naming his children what God tells him to name them. And I remember too Steven Spielberg being asked one day when he has to stand before God what he wants to hear God say to him. And his response was, "I want God to say to me, thanks for listening." That's what I want to hear God say to me too, but I'll add the second part, and that is, thanks for listening and for doing what I asked. That can be tough sometimes, and when you know God, He sometimes calls us to do the tough stuff. Can I just encourage you today, if you find yourself, maybe even in your life right now, at a crossroads, having to make some decisions, don't forget the cross. Because the thing about the way that Jesus took and that He calls us to take as His followers is the road less traveled. It's sometimes the road filled with obstacles and challenges and sometimes even suffering. But you know what? That's where God goes. God goes to the hard places. And you'll find out that that is also where there is the greatest reward. Thank you for watching Soul Steps today. We appreciate it. Please remember to visit our website at soulsteps.org. There you'll find opportunities to ask for prayer. There's a list of volunteer needs that we have so you can help us grow and develop our team and this work. And it'll show you opportunities for giving financially as you're able. We appreciate your support in every way. And remember that soul steps are important today because God cares about who you are and how you live. God bless you.